I still remember the sound of my brother's fork hitting the floor. The entire dining room fell silent as he stared at the documents spread across the holiday table. My mother snatched them up before anyone else could read them, but it was already too late. 25 millions? She whispered. My brother's face drained of color. No, that's impossible. My father looked from the papers to me, as though he had never seen me before. You built a company worth $25 million? I quietly folded my napkin and took another sip of water. My brother suddenly burst into tears. Actual tears. You owe me half, he shouted, his voice cracking. Mom and Dad spent everything on me because they thought you'd never need anything. You stole my future. My mother slammed her hand onto the table so hard the glasses rattled. She's right, she screamed at me. If we'd known you were secretly becoming rich, we would have planned differently. You had no right to hide this from your own family. Around the table, cousins, aunts, and uncles stared in stunned silence. No one spoke. No one moved. The only sound was my brother sobbing while demanding millions he had never earned. Then I smiled for the first time all evening. That was the moment they realized I wasn't about to apologize. But that's not where this story began. 3 months earlier, growing up, there were always 2 sets of rules in our house. One for my brother, another for me. If he wanted a new phone, he got it the same day. When I needed one for college, I was told to work harder. When he crashed his first car, my parents bought him another. When I needed help paying tuition, my father laughed. If you can't afford school, maybe you shouldn't be there. My brother barely graduated high school. He drifted from one job to another, quitting whenever a manager expected him to show up on time. Each time, my parents blamed everyone except him. They're jealous. They don't appreciate his talent. They're taking advantage of him. Then came the loans, credit card debt, business failures, car payments. Every time he made a mess, my parents cleaned it up. They refinanced their house twice, sold family land, even emptied retirement savings. Every dollar flowed toward him. Meanwhile, I worked 2 jobs through college. I graduated without asking anyone for help. No graduation gift. No celebration dinner. My mother simply said, "Your brother needs us more." Those 5 words became the story of my life. Years passed. Whenever I visited, the conversations were always the same. When are you getting married? When are you buying a house? Why don't you help your brother more? Nobody ever asked how I was doing. Nobody noticed I rarely talked about work. They assumed I was an ordinary office employee because I never corrected them. That assumption became my greatest advantage. Remember that detail. It matters later. I had started a tiny software company from my apartment after work. The first year was brutal. I coded until 3 in the morning, answered customer emails during lunch breaks, slept 4 hours a night. There were weeks when I survived on instant noodles because every extra dollar went back into the business. Not once did I ask my parents for help. I already knew the answer. It wouldn't be fair to your brother. Meanwhile, my brother announced another brilliant investment. This time, it was a luxury vacation rental. My parents paid the down payment. 6 months later, it failed. They covered the losses. Again, he bought an expensive truck. They made the payments. He started another company. They hired the employees. When that collapsed, they blamed the economy. Never him. Every family gathering became another reminder that he was the favorite. One Christmas, my mother handed him the keys to a new condominium. She looked at me and smiled. We couldn't afford 2. I smiled back. I understand. She mistook my kindness for weakness. That was her first mistake. By then, my company had quietly grown. A few employees became 20. 20 became 100. Clients from overseas began signing contracts. Investors called every week. I ignored most of them. I wasn't chasing headlines. I was building something that would last. Whenever relatives asked about work, I simply answered, "Things are going well." They nodded politely before returning to conversations about my brother's latest crisis. Nobody noticed that I drove the same modest car, lived in the same simple townhouse, wore inexpensive clothes. I preferred invisibility. Then something unexpected happened. A global technology company contacted us. They wanted to acquire my business. The negotiations lasted months. Lawyers, auditors, endless meetings. I told no one outside my executive team, not even my closest friends. The deal was confidential. If it leaked, everything could collapse. Meanwhile, my brother called asking for another loan. "I only need 50,000, he said casually. "I'll pay you back." I declined. Not because I couldn't help, because I knew exactly what would happen. He'd never repay it. He exploded. So you're too good for family now? I stayed calm. I'm simply saying no. He hung up. Minutes later, my mother called. You've changed. No, I replied quietly. I've just learned boundaries. She accused me of abandoning family. My father said I was selfish. Neither of them knew I had just signed paperwork that would change my life forever. Nobody in that room knew the truth. A few weeks later, the acquisition closed. After taxes and distributions, my share was worth just over $25 million. The news wasn't public yet. Our employees knew. The buyers knew. My lawyers knew. My family didn't. I kept working. I still answered emails. Still drove the same car. Still ordered the cheapest coffee. Money had changed my bank account. It hadn't changed me. Then came the holiday dinner. My parents insisted everyone attend. We're celebrating family, my mother announced. I almost declined. Something told me I should go. Halfway through dinner, my brother began complaining again. I deserve better opportunities. My mother nodded sympathetically. Then she turned toward me. You could learn something from your brother. Several relatives exchanged awkward glances. She continued anyway. He's willing to take risks. You're too comfortable living a small life. I nearly laughed. Instead, I cut another piece of turkey. Then my brother raised his glass. At least I'm trying to become successful. The irony was almost unbelievable. Just then my phone buzzed. It was my attorney. The acquisition had officially been announced to the public. Congratulations. The message included a press release. One cousin glanced at my screen. His eyes widened. Wait! He picked up his own phone. Within seconds, everyone else did the same. My brother frowned. What? My cousin slowly turned the screen toward the table. There it was. A headline announcing the acquisition of my company for over $25 million. My name was everywhere. The room froze. Dropped forks, wide eyes, open mouths. Silence. This is where everything changed. My father whispered, You own that company? I did. You built all of this? Yes. By yourself? Yes. Then my brother started crying. Not quietly, violently. He buried his face in his hands. You can't do this to me. Every person at the table stared. What do you mean? One uncle asked. You should split it, my brother shouted. We're family. My mother immediately stood beside him. He sacrificed because we helped him. If we'd known you were rich, we would have divided things differently. I looked directly into her eyes. You mean all the money you gave him? Yes. That was your choice. You should make it fair. I already did. She frowned. I never asked you for a single dollar. Silence. I never complained when you paid his debts. Silence. I never argued when you bought him 2 homes. More silence. I simply built my own. My brother slammed his fist onto the table. You owe me. No. You have enough. I earned enough. My father tried speaking. You should think about family. I did. I spent 20 years thinking about family. No one interrupted. I watched you rescue him. I watched you ignore me over and over. I accepted every decision. But my success isn't a family asset, it's mine. The room became so quiet that even the children stopped talking. My brother's wife quietly removed her wedding ring. She had apparently reached her limit long before that dinner. Within weeks, she filed for divorce. Creditors who had been waiting for payments restarted legal action against my brother after learning there would be no miracle inheritance. The expensive lifestyle my parents had financed finally collapsed. They had nothing left to mortgage. Nothing left to sell. For the first time in his life, my brother had to face consequences no one could erase. As for my parents, they called repeatedly, sometimes apologizing, sometimes demanding, sometimes crying. I wished them peace, but I refused to buy forgiveness with money. Months later, I established a scholarship fund for young women studying technology, students who had dreams but lacked support. Watching those students receive opportunities I never had brought me more happiness than any luxury ever could. People often ask if I regret refusing my brother. I don't. Helping someone who refuses to grow isn't kindness, it's enabling. Real love sometimes means allowing people to face the results of their own choices. Today my company continues to thrive under its new ownership, and I spend my time mentoring entrepreneurs, investing in women-led startups, and living a quiet life built entirely on my own effort. My parents finally understand that favoritism didn't just hurt me. It also robbed my brother of the chance to become responsible. That lesson cost them almost everything. As for me, I didn't need revenge through anger. Life delivered something far more satisfying: the truth.